So in the past few days, I've been noticing some users having problems with FancyMenu's element animator because, well, it can be a bit confusing at first, but it's actually pretty easy, at least if you already know a bit about keyframe animation stuff. But even if you don't, it's not that complicated. So yeah, well, I decided to make a little video to show you guys how this thing works and how to animate elements with it. So yeah, let's first make a new layout and add an element to it we want to animate. Let's use an image. Image source, local, random cat picture. Done. Restore aspect ratio. And yeah, well, that's our element. The element we want to animate. So basically, at the end, it will do something like that, but on its own. And that's why we need the element animator. Right click the animator, and then you will see the keyframe editor and loop animation, ignore size and ignore position. Here in the edit keyframes option, you basically add the keyframes, the actual animation. We will come to that in a moment. But let's first talk about these. So if you toggle this to enabled, the animation will loop at the end. Without this, it will only play once, then it stops. The element will then go back to its original position where it was before it started playing its animation. And yeah, if you turn that on, it will restart right after it finishes playing. So if you make an animation that, well, kinda loops okayish, it will then look like a fluent, continuous animation that never stops. Okay, so what you can do with the element animator is you can basically animate elements by editing or modifying their size and their position. By default, it will apply both of these customizations to the element that gets animated. But if you don't want that, for example, you only want to have it move but don't change its size, you can turn that to on, and it will basically ignore all customizations made to the size of the element and will only change its position. If you enable that and turn that off, it will not change its position, but the all size customizations get applied to it. So now that we've explained all this, let's move on and continue with making the actual animation. So we click on edit keyframes and we end up in this screen. That's the keyframe editor. And what we can do here is basically change the position and size of the little preview element we have in here. And by doing that, we can like record this movement so it later can get applied to actual elements like our image in the layout. And yeah, to add keyframes to that. Oh wait, let's explain this first. The offset mode. The offset mode is basically what you want to use in most cases, probably. So if you want your actual element, to start at its original position and use that actual original position as its origin when the animation starts playing, you use the offset mode. If you don't do that and you have the, for example, preview element in the keyframe editor starting at here, the actual element will later jump to here when it starts playing the animation. And well, you don't want that in most cases, but some. That's why both are an option. But yeah, in most cases you probably want to use the offset mode. So we turn that on. And yeah, that's basically it. So now that we have turned on the offset mode, we have this little like cross in the middle. That's the origin, the simulated origin of the actual element. So basically, if we move the preview to here, the element will jump from here to here, and instead of jumping to the middle, because our preview element was in the middle of the screen. So yeah, I hope that's not too confusing. Well, let's move on. We enable that again, and yeah, to record the animation, we have to start recording. But well, since this can be a bit fast, we turn this to record speed 0, and then we can freely move this like progress thingy. I don't know the name of, but you know what I mean. Yeah, so we are at 0 seconds in the animation now, and we basically want our element to move in circles at the end. So we start with moving it to here, and then we record our first keyframe. So that's this position and this size. We want to ignore the size, so I don't change this, but you could also change the size between keyframes, and then well, actually let's change the size just to show it. So we start with this position offset and this size offset. Then we add the first keyframe that basically gets applied at 0.0 seconds. And then we move a bit and also move the element a bit and move it back to here, to this size. Then we record the next keyframe. Then we move it to here. And this time we make it a little to this side. And we record the next keyframe. Then this and this. Add keyframe. Oh, damn. Did I? I did. Was that? What was it? That's the wrong. Jesus. That already gets a little messy, I think. Yeah, I think that's the correct order. It doesn't really matter if that has the same space between each frame. We can automatically fix that later. Yeah, it works. So let's continue with the next frame. Add keyframe. That's why you normally probably would record at like 19% or 6% or whatever. So you can move, add keyframe, move, add keyframe. You can also do all of these keys with shortcuts. That's explained in the documents. Please read the documents. You can basically add keyframes with a hotkey. It's probably K. It is K. You can also like switch to recording and editing mode with pressing R, I think. No, that stops recording. I forgot my own shortcuts. It's a lot of shortcuts. Read the documents, please. I don't use that thing too much. So yeah, but in our case, we don't want that. We delete this keyframe again and move back to our actual last keyframe that was at this position, and now we continue. But yeah, you can basically do all of that pretty like fluently and quickly if you just memorize the keyframes. Not the keyframes, the shortcuts. Anyways, let's add the next keyframe. What the fuck? Let's ignore that. Probably a bug. Never seen that before. Anyways, add keyframe. We move it to this position and change its size a bit. Add keyframe. Did I stack keyframes again? No, I didn't. I'm super focused right now. You can tell. What the oh, I think I just let's debug that. Well, it's not really a bug. It's more like that I forgot to. Well, basically, if you normally select a keyframe, well, it's okay, I guess. It's not a bug. I'm just stupid. If you have a keyframe selected, you can't add a new keyframe, which makes sense. But yeah, you have to understand your own things that you code yourself before you can try to explain them. Anyways, let's finally move on with the next keyframe. But yeah, that's probably the stuff you all have problems with, maybe. So yeah, let's explain it from the perspective of someone who doesn't get it as well. So let's add it here. Move a bit. And that. And I think I started here. Add keyframe. Maybe you can tell, but this video is not prepared at all. So yeah, that's where the randomness and chaos comes from. I think that's probably okay-ish. Let's move it here. I think we started here. Add keyframe. Well, it's not. Is that the right position? There's a keyframe missing. But why? Add keyframe. What? Well, that probably explains it. That's not as fluent as I wanted it to be, but it's okay. That's how debugging works with animations. Hey, yeah, now it kind of works for what we want to do. So now we have our animation. It's not even a second long, which is okay. We can make it, we can stretch it later, but now let's first stop recording. So we are in the normal mode again, and let's play it. Well, actually, it's not even way too fast. It's okay. So well, I don't know how to call that. The space after the actual animation is not part of the actual animation. It's just here in the editor for convenience and to not break stuff. So as soon as the number here turns orange, it basically is not part of the animation anymore. It's just so if you have really small animation, really long animations, it's that you can still move the cursor and stuff. Let's not go deeper into this. It has its purpose. Okay, so we have our animation, but it's not perfectly like spaced. So let's press Ctrl plus A and select all frames at once, and deselect all frames at once again. So so now we can click on distance smoothing, which basically allows you to set a space, a fixed space between each frame. For this, we should probably use something like that, maybe. Yeah, that's okay, I guess. So you set this space in milliseconds, and yeah, every keyframe is now perfectly the same distance to each other. And yeah, we can now click done because we are done in here. We have our animation. This animation will probably look pretty okay-ish later. We click done and we have the animation saved in here. Now we can save the layout to not lose it. Save. So now we have the animator, but well, it will not play the animation yet. Nothing happened. Well, I probably, yeah, I did. Let's delete that. Ignore that. So yeah, well, the image is not moving. Why? That's because we did not link the element to the animator. We can do that by clicking on the right-clicking the animator and then click on Manage Target Elements. This is an image element, the only image element in this layout, so we don't need to rename that. But if you have many elements, you should probably double-click here on, let's call it cat image, so you know which image well, does what, you know. So we have our cat image here. We click on Manage Target Elements and click on Add Target. And then we have our cat image here, and we can click on it and click Done. So now that cat image is in the target elements list, which should tell you that you can actually add multiple elements to the same animator. And by using the offset mode, you can basically use the same animator to, let's spin one cat image in the upper left corner of the screen and the other image in the lower right corner. So, and it will just work. It will play the exact same animation, but yeah, it will work. So let's press done. Yeah, that should be everything. We need to turn that off again and turn that on. Well, no, both off, because we also customize the size. So let's apply both customizations to the element. We click on save and we leave the editor. And now we have this very weird spinning thing. Well, wait, let's correct that. That happens because we have stay on screen enabled. Let's move the element a bit here. Let's save it, Control S, close, and then it can go off screen. Well, the animation does not look really smooth, but yeah, that's on me for being shitty at doing animation stuff. But yeah, you can make really smooth animations, and that's because the element animator does not just apply the keyframes to the elements, but it like smoothly transitions between each keyframe. So like it adds many additional keyframes between two keyframes to smoothly go from one to the other to the next. And yeah, that's basically how keyframe animations work. So if you're better than I am at doing animations, you can get pretty smooth looking animated effects from this. Like one example I showed in my Discord a few weeks ago was when I was doing Spiffy Hut, when I was rewriting Spiffy Hut. I checked how the element animator works in Spiffy layouts, like hut layouts, like the in-game hotbar and stuff. And yeah, it turns out it's pretty great to have like the whole GUI or hut shaken when you're like at low health or stuff. And yeah, that works pretty great because you can, of course, play animations way faster than we did in here by lowering the distance between them. Let's do it like that. Done. Save. close. And now it spins a bit faster, maybe. Not the best example to show this, but we can do that by, well, let's show something else first. Edit. Let's make that 100 and was it 120? I think. Let's make it 90. Done. Save. Now we press Control C, Control V, and have this same element twice now. Now we call this cat image 2 and add that one as well to the targets list. Done, done, save. And then, as I said earlier, we have two different elements play by using the, or animate by using the same element animator, which probably works pretty great if you have animations that are like simple, like maybe particle movement stuff or something. So you can place two particles and let them move, maybe have 2 or 3 different animators. So you have 2 or 3 different particle animation loops and stuff. So it's actually, if you use some time for that stuff, you can probably make something pretty great looking. And yeah, so let's move to the back to the other thing I wanted to show, which I forgot now. Oh yeah, I wanted to show the HUD shaking effect. Let's add a button for that. And let's pretend this is a health bar or something. So if your health is pretty low, element animator, keyframes, record. Let's do this just because I want to have it look like the actual bar. Yeah, we want to have that play at a very low speed. And then I will press K and K and K, some random movement. Not too much. I made a pretty decent looking one in my test, but this one will probably look ass just because. Stop. And then we can move these to, well, can we? I'm sure I added that. So you can press Control while moving multiple selected elements to move them all together. Pretty handy. All in the documents. Please read the documents. And now we can use distance. Well, do we want to use distance smoothing? Well, we do not want, because the randomness in this is also probably pretty good for making it look like, well, random shaken. That's just pretty okay already. A bit too slow still. Yeah, I think that's okay. Done. And now we have this health bar. It's obviously a health bar. So loop and ignore size this time, because we don't want to change the size, just the position. Manage targets. Add target, health bar, done. And our health bar is here because, well, it's a health bar. Save. And now we have a shaken health bar because our health is very low. Well, that's the stuff you can do with this element. It probably takes some effort to well, learn how to use it efficiently and how to make stuff that looks not as. But yeah, if you're better than me, then it will probably be fine. So anyways, I hope that was at least a bit helpful. It was chaotic. It was very chaotic on my end, but I will hopefully cut the video like so it's not that confusing anymore. But yeah, if there are still questions left, check the documents. There's a pretty detailed page about the element animator with all the shortcuts and other stuff, other helpful stuff that I probably forgot to mention here. And yeah, if you're still having questions after reading the documents, come to my Discord. The link for the Discord is on all my project pages for all my mods. Click on the Discord banner, or it's probably also in the links list of at least Modrent. I don't know if it's in CurseForge, but okay. Yeah. I hope it was helpful. Have a good day. Bye.